Kelsey Ann Smith.
Ever since she was a kid, she always loved the color blue. My mom nicknamed her Blueberry, and she found this blue dress, and it's beautiful on her. She found it at a thrift store because that's how she was. She loved a bargain like that.
As Kelsey grew up, she was very inquisitive. She did theater and dance and choir and band. I think band was probably her favorite activity.
Kelsey had to try everything that there was. She was always out there exploring, just like she had been when she was a little kid. I don't remember exactly what meal I was making, but when Kelsey didn't get back on time and we couldn't get a hold of her on the phone, it was an immediate sign that something was wrong.
I got called to advise that patrol needed some assistance with a possible missing persons case.
Her family had been searching for her for a few hours and had located her vehicle abandoned.
I remembered my dad telling me as soon as we saw the car, he said, "Don't touch anything."
This was a crime of opportunity, and we don't know if she had left the house 10 minutes later, if it would have happened.
I saw that footage, and all I see is just a quick dash of something run across the screen. We all knew that someone had taken her.
We see this, and we froze. The room got deathly quiet.
I was fearful of exactly what happened. I just didn't realize how it was going to completely change our entire family's lives.
Don't you even.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You're in trouble, silly string. We got silly string, Dad. You better sleep with your eyes open.
It's Christmas. She looks very happy about Christmas.
She does.
I wonder what she got that year.
When we went to the Alamo, there's these steps, and Mom decided she wanted to get a picture of all of us in order. So I'm sitting at the top, and then it goes Lindsay, Kelsey, Cody, and Zach. Kelsey's just got the cheesiest, biggest smile out of all of us in that picture. Just super happy. It's one of my favorite photos of all of us. Little did we know we would only have a few more years left.
When I met Greg, I had already had my oldest daughter, Stevie, from my previous marriage. And then we had our daughter, Lindsay, just shortly after we got married. And now we have 5 kids.
Kelsey was the only one that we planned. All the others were, miracles of God. They just came along.
We ended up in Overland Park because my husband is from here. After he got out of the Navy, Greg became a Kansas City, Missouri police officer. I think Kelsey was about 9.
Coming back home for me was a big deal. Overland Park, growing up, I always had fun. I always thought it was a nice place to live.
I never felt unsafe in Overland Park. It feels like a place where you can just leave your doors unlocked and you're going to be okay.
Kelsey had a lot of friends. All of her friends would always come to our house for everything.
They'd go down in the basement and play games or sit around and watch television. Just seemed like our house was the house to come to for some reason. I don't know why.
I do remember Kelsey having a couple boyfriends, but John was, God, they were just so in love. It was one of those where it was annoying and it was cute. He meant so much to her and vice versa. He loved to make her smile. Her nose would scrunch up like crazy because of how he would crack her up.
John was definitely different. I mean, watching him, I think probably that eventually they ended up being married. June 2nd is a Saturday. Missy had gone to Iowa to a wedding for a friend of hers. So I took the kids to Old Shawnee Days. They had a parade earlier in the day. It's kind of like a carnival type atmosphere. So we did that, rode the rides, did all the fun stuff, and I came home to make dinner.
I knew that they said that she had gone to Target to get a gift for John.
Kelsey came back within just a few minutes because she forgot a CD that she wanted to take with her in the car. So she came in and got that, and she said, love you, Dad, see you later.
Kelsey had called me because she was trying to find an item in Target, this box for John, to put cards and letters and stuff that she had gotten him. And then as we were getting ready to hang up, I told her, bye, baby, see you when I get home. And that was the last time I got to talk to her.
I was hanging out with my friend at my apartment. We were watching the movie about a serial killer going around killing young girls. And we were all like, wow, that was an intense movie. And the credits pop up, and that's when I got a phone call from my sister, Lindsay, saying, have you heard from Kels?
Hi guys, it's Kelsey. Obviously, I can't come to the phone right now. Leave me a message. Bye.
And she told me that they haven't heard from Kels, and we all know the rules. You leave a spot, you call and let Mom and Dad know.
That whole trip home, I just keep calling and texting and communicating with Greg and Lindsay and everyone. And there was no sign of Kelsey anywhere. So as soon as Lindsay told me Kelsey wasn't answering her phone, I told her to tell her dad to call the police.
I worked for campus police. So I was still a law enforcement officer, but it was on a college campus rather than a city. So I started calling other police departments around here, just trying to see if maybe she'd been in an accident, see if she'd had a traffic stop, something. And we weren't getting any kind of information. It was pretty obvious pretty quick that something had gone wrong.
I looked at my best friend in a panic. I said, we got to go find Kels. So my best friend drove me, and we knew she had been at Target. And there's a road that goes around the mall, and Target and the mall are across the street from Macy's parking lot. And I remember my grandparents coming in from one angle and my friend driving from the other. And then we just see her car and pull in at the same time.
I remember Missy getting here when my parents found the car. So we headed out to the mall and we called the police at the same time and said, hey, her car's been located, meet us out there. There was something hanging out of the trunk of Kelsey's car. It was like a piece of paper or a bag or something, which told me that somebody else had been in the trunk. They opened the car and she wasn't there. She wasn't in the trunk. It was just very strange. I mean, her car's there, her purse is there, the stuff she bought for John is there in the car, but she's not there and her phone's not there. Those things are missing.
We started looking around all of the bushes and in all of the dumpsters because there was no sign of Kelsey anywhere.
I had this gut feeling that her not being in the trunk, I already knew what the results were going to be from it. I fell to my knees and I told my best friend, this isn't going to end the way we want it to.
June 2nd, 2007 was a typical early summer day. Great weather, no rain, just nice and sunny. I was actually sleeping when I got the phone call.
The information that I got was a family reported their 18-year-old daughter missing. Kelsey's car had been taken into evidence and was being processed by our evidence techs.
I called the sergeant on scene and asked him to escort everybody to the headquarters so I could do the interviews in private.
I am a police officer, so I knew what questions were coming and I knew what to expect. And I also knew we didn't do it. So it was just a matter of saying, let's do this, let's get it over with so they can go look for the right person.
So while the family was being interviewed, Kelsey's car was being processed by our evidence technicians, gathering fingerprints and DNA and anything inside the vehicle. We found the Target bag that was in there. It still had the photo album in it. We found the roll of wrapping paper in the car that she had purchased in the Target. So there was a lot of evidence to go through in the vehicle.
I interviewed the parents and the boyfriend separately. At that point, we had no idea what our interview would garner with John.
Kelsey's mother and father were immediately disregarded as a possibility. So that led police to look to the next person closest to Kelsey, which would be her boyfriend. Being teenagers where emotions and impulses tend to run high, it would potentially explain why Kelsey went missing, even if she just decided to run away with her boyfriend.
A tactic police use when they're interviewing a potential suspect is to ask the same questions in various different ways. John appeared genuinely upset and confused by the situation. His story remained consistent, which is indicative of someone who's telling the truth. And we knew fairly early on that John probably was not involved.
After the interview, John says you can ping a phone, you can locate a cell phone. And since Kelsey's cell phone wasn't there and Kelsey wasn't there, the assumption was that the phone was with her.
I started contacting our cell phone provider, and we just could not get them to understand. I even said to one person, my child is missing. I need you to help me find her.
Technically, the phone was in Missy's name, but because Kelsey was 18 and in possession of the phone, the cell phone provider wouldn't release that information, and they don't have a legal obligation to do that.
The next morning on Sunday, when Kelsey still had not been found, it was very concerning to us. We still didn't know if she was missing or just didn't want to be found.
Her siblings and friends immediately started making a poster about a missing person. And I remember giving them like my last $30 to go get copies made so that they could start distributing it. And Stevie and Lindsay were doing what they could with meeting with the press or talking to reporters.
Kelsey, if you're out there watching us, we're coming. We're not going to stop until you're home. Nothing is going to stop us from bringing her back with us.
Kelsey's father was a police officer, meaning that it was even worse that her car was found, but Kelsey was not. Unfortunately, I think he probably knew that given the circumstances, this looked very, very bad for his daughter.
I kind of started operating in what my family calls cop mode. I just looked at it from an evidentiary point of view, more as a police officer than as Kelsey's dad, because the longer this went on, the more scared and nervous Kelsey's dad got, but the cop could kind of keep it together.
Here, let's turn it sideways. That way when we're watching the video.
I do still have that outfit. It's a sailor one. It's pink sailor.
My name is No-No.
That's exactly. We still have that shirt. Surprise. We actually got her a shirt that said, "My name is No-No," because she was very curious, got into everything. Wrote on the walls, the lipstick. Remember those blinds you got me? And she wrote on them with lipstick.
Yep.
Oh man, Kelsey loved to push Mom's buttons. She knew what Mom's pet peeves were, and burping was one of them. So yeah, she would chug a soda, and then she would purposely just do the biggest belch. And then the same smile she's got on her face in this picture is how she would be after she burped. Just like, haha, what are you gonna do about it? You love me.
We gathered a lot of information from a lot of people, but nothing added up to a reason for Kelsey's disappearance. Kelsey was not a runaway risk. She had never done anything like that before.
Kelsey's parents advised she was last seen shopping at Target. So the next morning on Sunday, we went to the store at 10 a.m. when they opened to give us the footage we needed.
When we viewed the video, it was on a very small screen and the quality was poor. Looking at the video, we didn't see anyone approach her. We didn't see her speak to anyone inside the store. And we set that video aside, and in the essence of timing and speed to try and find her, it was now time to ask the public for their help.
12 days ago, video captured Kelsey Smith as she walked the stage to graduate high school. Saturday night, surveillance cameras show the 18-year-old walking out of a local Target store and into apparent trouble. Her car was found hours later by the teen's grandparents at a mall across the street. Hundreds of volunteers will set out again today, passing out flyers looking for Kelsey.
After the first 48 hours, my boss initiated a Metro Squad, which reaches out to all the metropolitan area agencies.
We moved to the Overland Park Command Center, which was larger. And what we had at the command center was walls that acted as projection screens. We projected the video on the wall.
We watched 47 different angles of video. And each one of those angles that we caught an image of Kelsey in, several seconds later, you would see this gentleman in the white shirt and the brown shorts walking nearby.
This is Kelsey walking into the Target wearing her pink tank top and black shorts. Kelsey's walking through the store. She's selecting her items and making her way to the cash register. Shortly after Kelsey walks by the jewelry counter, you can see someone following close behind her. And he's looking around, making sure that he sees what Kelsey's doing and where she's going.
And And the whole time, as we're sitting there watching that, it made us feel like we're watching a lion hunt his prey. And it was clear to me that this wasn't his first time. She's oblivious. She wrote a check for purchase. She exits here. And by this time, he is pretty much back to his truck, if not close to it. You'll see Kelsey. She's here at her car, places her items in the passenger side, walks around the back side. You'll see quick flash. That's what started it for us, was that quick flash.
At that moment, we knew that Kelsey had been taken against her will.
Once we started walking backwards through the video, we were able to see his blue 1979 pickup truck driving around the backside of the store. And the last frame of that is basically the picture of the pickup truck that we sent the media.
Police in Kansas are still trying to find 18-year-old Kelsey Smith, who was abducted over the weekend. On Tuesday, police released surveillance tape that from a distance shows her being forced into her car outside a Target store in Overland Park, and then a pickup truck that may have been driven by a man involved in her disappearance.
The police had brought Greg and I to their command center. When we saw the footage of Kelsey being taken, we just knew that it wasn't good and prayed that we would at least get to bring her home.
When I saw that footage, you can see clearly that he was stalking her, that he was preying on her. It's an image that I will never get out of my head. Just her walking in so happy, so carefree, having no idea what's about to happen to her.
We knew we were looking for a stranger at this point. We had a vague description of a white male, dark hair, a white t-shirt, and dark colored shorts, which is probably a description of 30% of the people out there shopping that day.
We were able to get a very good facial shot of him. Once that image went out into the media, the TIPS hotline started getting overwhelmed with calls.
Overall, we had 1,700 leads, and we followed up on 1,100 of them.
This was somebody that looked like they were probably from the area because he had either Kansas or Missouri plates to suggest that this was somebody who was familiar with this location.
The footage was provided to America's Most Wanted, and information that we gave to the local media gave us 3 leads, 2 from a neighbor and 1 from a friend of his. We hadn't received any information yet from the cell phone company, but the FBI and the DEA was able to give us the last known location for Kelsey's cell phone. So there was a couple of communications at Oak Park Mall, a couple communications along 435 highway here. And as they made their way at the park near Longview Lake, the phone was pinging and giving us locations.
Her last known location was less than 2 hours after she left the Target. So I was not optimistic that we were going to find her alive.
The information we got, it was like at 8 o'clock, too late to start a search because daylight was going away. So at 7 a.m. the next morning, we started the search at the cell site tower. When the officers arrived at the cell site tower, they had information that Kelsey's last known location was 1,350 feet east by northeast of the cell phone tower. So the officers walked directly almost to her body down here in the ravine.
It was obvious that it was her. We found her same pink tank top and shorts that she was seen in the Target video were laying not far from the body.
It was clear that she had been lured here or brought here against her will. There was signs of a struggle. The ground around her body was disturbed, and it was clear that she had struggled for a long time due to the injuries on her hands and around her neck. Obviously, with time, evidence deteriorates. So the detectives and the crime scene investigators were working against the clock and make sure they got everything they needed.
I felt like we had failed, but on the other hand, I knew that we needed as much evidence and information as we could gather in order to get justice for Kelsey.
On June 6th, we were at the Target Command Center, the detectives, and the chief of police came up to me and asked me if I knew where my parents were. And I said, I think they're at home. Why? And they said, it's important, we need to talk to them.
And we got a call from Captain Fredrickson, and he said to Greg, I need to talk to you.
And I said, is this news that we need to brace for? And he said, yeah, you better brace.
We were waiting at the end of our driveway for him to come and tell us that they had found Kelsey and she wasn't alive. And I just lost it and started screaming, not my Kels. Because I knew that, yeah, it was my Kels.
We pull up to my parents' house and Mom and Dad are sitting on the back of Dad's truck. And they're both so broken. Dad's face. I've never seen my dad cry like that. I remember seeing him take a deep breath because now they've got to tell us what they've just found out. And I just remember screaming, no, no. I don't want to hear it, no.
Stevie kind of folded up out here in the lawn. I think I may have even picked her up and carried her inside. I don't remember for sure. Lindsay, I know her boyfriend picked her up and carried her inside because she was so upset. And then Cody saw it on television.
I love the media for what they can do when people are missing. But I hate the media for not giving the authorities enough time to let the family know first. Because while my parents are being told that their daughter is killed, my little sister and brother are inside the house watching it on TV. That's how they found out that their older sister was killed, because of the helicopters above.
When we received the name Edwin Hall, we set about trying to locate him as quickly as possible, because if the public is seeing these images on the news, then the suspects are seeing those images as well.
At that point, we got a call from an attorney advising he had a young man by the name of Edwin Hall, who was the person in the video that had been on the news. The suspect was 24 and married with a 5-year-old child.
We were told by his coworkers at his place of employment that he saw his image on the news, and he left work to go contact an attorney.
Once Edwin was at the station, his attorney arrived a short time later. We started the interview, introduced ourselves. He did good handshake, looked you directly in the eye, and he basically asked for our information. What do you guys have? And that's not the way these interviews go.
After we found her body and we had a little time to grieve as a family, Mom, Dad, and I did another conference to let everyone know that she had been found and to thank them for helping us. No, it's not the outcome we wanted, but we still wanted everyone to know how grateful we were that they helped us look for our loved one when they didn't have to.
She could walk into a room of strangers and walk out with a room full of friends. Her excitement and passion for life was unmatched. She lived more in 18 years than many people do, with a great deal more time.
It was later on that evening that the police released the identity of her killer, his name and everything.
Police in Kansas have arrested a suspect in the murder of 18-year-old Kelsey Smith. Edwin Hall, police say, appears to be the person of interest identified on the store surveillance video.
I got a phone call from Wichita lieutenant who advised he had dealt with Edwin several times as a juvenile.
He had tried to stab his adopted sister with a knife during a fight, and he had attacked another man with a baseball bat.
The detectives told me that Edwin always had that demeanor of catch me if you can, and that was the same demeanor he brought to the interview.
The initial interview was about 4 hours. That's what Bob told me. And he said he acted like he was the smartest guy in the room.
I decided I was going to put some photos of Kelsey in front of Hall because we were basically getting nowhere. So when I pushed some photos in front of him, he said, "Oh, I did see her. She's got nice legs." And that gave us kind of a hook. And that was at the point his attorney said, "We're done, no more questions." He had completely stonewalled his attorney into believing he was innocent.
When he first came in with his attorney, he voluntarily submitted his DNA and his fingerprints. So while Edwin is there being interviewed with his attorney, we get a call from the crime lab.
And on his way out the door, he laughed at us and said, "Is that all you got?" And at that point, I got a text message from my boss saying that Edwin's thumbprint had been matched in the seatbelt buckle of Kelsey's car. And I told Edwin, "We are charging you with homicide and kidnapping." And he screamed something inaudible, and I just turned around and walked away. I knew right away I was going to give Kelsey's family some closure.
During the autopsy, they discovered that Kelsey had been strangled. The autopsy also revealed that Kelsey had been sexually assaulted, and the presence of bleach was found on her body. It had been poured on her intentionally the next day to try and wipe away any DNA evidence.
We saw the scratch marks on his legs during the interview, and he had a couple on his hands too. Tried to play it off, but everything collected at the crime scene had his DNA on it or hers.
I know Kelsey fought off her attacker. His DNA is in her fingernails. I know my sister fought for her life. She absolutely would have.
To kind of get away from people and to cope with what was happening, I took this guy's mugshot and I went to the shooting range. And you're not supposed to do rapid fire, but I was. And the range master came out and said, "Hey, you need to slow down." I said, "I'm sorry, I'm Kelsey Smith's dad." And he looked down range and saw what I was shooting at, and he says, "Yeah, go ahead."
Okay, Kelsey. It's a list, and it's a box. How cute. Show everybody. It's a box with me on top.
No,
So
this
I'm
is
just
the
that
box
cute.
for your birthday celebration, everybody.
Busy 23.
Okay. In this box are several symbols to help Kelsey
Kelsey?
celebrate her 16th birthday.
One
And
day
that
this
is
will
the
really
letter
help.
that
I
I
don't
wrote,
get to read.
that I wrote to your future husband,
Did you cry?
that he gets on your wedding day.
Did you
Probably
cry?
a blank piece of
Yes,
paper.
I always give when I
It's
write
probably
those
just a
letters.
blank piece of paper, and then he'll just switch
No, at
it
the bottom
before you
it's
get
signed
married.
"Good luck." That's it. Yours it says "God help you." I know.
No, actually yours says "Look out."
After Kelsey was killed, I gave the letter to John, the letter to the future husband, because I thought he should have it. John, he used to come around, and then over the years he stopped, and I think it hurts too much for him to come over here. I think Kelsey was the one for him, and John was the one for Kelsey. We were kind of at a loss as to what to do for a funeral for an 18-year-old girl. And John told us, he said, "I know what she wants."
We said, "How did you know?" And he said, "Because she talked to me about her funeral before she talked to me about her wedding."
I remember her funeral just being massive, huge. People waiting in line for hours just to come in to pay their respects to us.
It went on until way past midnight. There were so many people, and if they came out to honor our daughter, we were going to say thank you for them coming out.
She said she didn't want people to grieve and be sad. She wanted people to be happy and celebrate who she was. Obviously, she had no idea it would be so soon, but her wishes were met as much as we could.
Kelsey, like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, she said that when she went to prom, she was going to wear a dress like Belle, and she actually did. That's the dress that we ended up burying her in, the Belle dress.
Paul was being charged with first-degree homicide, still claiming innocence. He had entered a plea of not guilty.
The district attorney was pushing for the death penalty. We knew his narcissism would take over, and we knew at some point, in order to avoid the death penalty, he and his team would probably be willing to give some concessions.
He asked for a plea deal and asked that the death penalty be removed. So that information was taken to Greg and Missy to see if they would agree with it.
But a friend of ours told us that this is the best deal for us, because if it's a death penalty case, it's going to keep coming up and coming up and coming up. So we got to where we were okay with that.
During Hall's confession, he basically lined out his entire day. He said he had spent the morning on Adult Friend Finder and couldn't find anybody to hook up with. So he decided he was going to go to Oak Park Mall, trying to engage with random females, sometimes making lewd comments. Later on, he decided he was going to drive over to the Target store.
Edwin confessed that he had a handgun when he approached Kelsey in the Target parking lot. He shoved her into the driver's seat of her vehicle, and he climbed into the back seat behind her.
Once they got out to the park, she was pleading to let her go. And he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what, if you have sex with me, I'll let you go."
He took her belt out of the car and used that to strangle her.
He covered her up with the sticks and he left the area and drove her car back to the mall. And then he walked back across the mall to his truck, so we were able to connect him completely from start to finish.
Edwin Hall could not identify with the pain that Kelsey went through, or the immense amount of trauma her family was experiencing.
I was angry and upset that my child had been taken. And just, I had this overwhelming emotion because it just wasn't fair.
On September 16th, 2008, Edwin Hall was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for the sexual assault and murder of Kelsey Smith.
He looked at us and said he was sorry. My personal feeling was that the only thing he's sorry for is he got caught.
The Kelsey Smith Foundation is the foundation that Greg and I started after Kelsey was murdered because we wanted to make a difference.
My parents go around educating like high schoolers and young people on how to be aware of your surroundings. The foundation also helps to try to get Kelsey's law passed.
The Kelsey Smith Act says that a cell phone provider shall provide location information on a phone in an emergency situation at the request of law enforcement. And we know that it works because we hear stories from law enforcement agencies all over the United States that have used it.
Greg and Missy took a tragedy that happened to their family and turned it into something good. And I can't even begin to know or understand how many lives that has probably saved. I think that is the gift that Kelsey gave to all of us, is helping other people.
We talk about her constantly. She is still a member of our family. She's still my daughter. I just parent her differently now.
You just hold on to every memory you can. Because you don't want to forget her. I don't want to forget her laugh. She wouldn't want any of us to give up. We need to keep moving on as a family and sticking together and staying close. I just miss my sister.
I wish I could hear her laugh again. Or just sit and talk. She was always happy. She was always outgoing. She was always looking to have fun. And that's the way I choose to remember her.